Every now and then I'm reminded of the Judith Barsi case. Judith Barsi was a 10-year-old little girl who was an actor. She played Ducky in Land Before Time, Anne Marie in All Dogs Go to Heaven. She was a little girl in Jaws. She had a lot of talent and a lot of joy, and people were just happy being around her. Except for one person. One person was not happy being around her. One person was supposed to support her in everything she did, but instead was jealous of her and her success in this world that he didn't understand. He was already insecure. He would get into fights with people if he just thought they were making fun of his accent. He could be at a bar, and if someone laughed near him, he could fight them. He was an alcoholic. He threatened Judith with a knife before she went on a trip to go film for Jaws, actually. Very close to when she died. I think 2 months before. She was flying out to film, and she was excited, and her father, Judith Barsi, had a talk with her. He was holding a knife while they had this talk. And this to me is very familiar, because I remember talks with my father where he was pointing at a rifle. So I can't imagine how she felt looking at that knife, looking at her father, and listening to him while he told her that if she didn't come back from this trip to go film for Jaws, he would kill her with that knife, and her mother. Judith was so scared of her dad. She was telling other adults around her. She was asking for help. Her mother was asking for help from the police. That didn't work. Her mother had gotten them an apartment. She was trying to leave, a secret apartment. But they hadn't gone there yet. She was hesitating. She'd tried to leave before, and it had never gone well. She tried to leave in June, but she wanted to stay for Judith's birthday on the 6th of June. And she tried to leave in July, but she just didn't want to leave her home, right? But that's not really what it was. She was scared, because leaving is the most dangerous time. And she was right to be scared, because when Joseph found out that Judith and her mother were going to be escaping him, he shot them both to death and then killed himself, as cowards always do. So this waste of air, this slovenly, insecure, violent piece of shit, took a gun and killed his wife, who was trying to leave him, so his ex-wife, really, in spirit. And then he walked into his little girl's room and shot her in the back of the head. Her blood sprayed onto a pink television that he had given her after he had gotten angry and pulled her hair. I cannot talk about Judith Barsi without crying. I cannot think about Judith Barsi without getting upset. Land Before Time was an important movie in our house. Ducky was my mom's favorite character, and I don't know if she knew what happened to Judith Barsi or if she knows now, and I don't want to tell her. It's so frustrating to continue to see history repeating itself over and over and fucking over again. We all know, people who think about this stuff, people in law enforcement, people in social work, people who do commentary. I don't know how much, on average, people know about this stuff, but we all know the statistics. We all know the truth. We all know how family annihilators work. We know that leaving is the most dangerous time. We know that women are more likely to be murdered when they're pregnant than when they're not. 75% more likely to be murdered by their partner when they're pregnant than when they're not pregnant. Insecurity in a man can be deadly to the people around that man and to that man himself. Because a lot of these family annihilators off themselves when they're done. Because they can't handle facing consequences. And they can't handle being told they're a bad person. Because they know they're a bad person. And that would upset them. So they would rather just pretend they're going out in a blaze of glory or some shit. That's why they off themselves. And that's why all this stuff with Epstein is getting brushed under the rug. Because if you look in cases where people abuse children, even when they have that person dead to rights, a lot of the time they won't admit it. Because they know the social stigma of being a child predator. They know. And Joseph Barsi knew that if his wife left him, he would feel even more like people laughing around him were laughing at him. He would feel like even more of a failure than he already was. He had been threatening his wife's life for 5 years. He'd been terrorizing his child to the point that she plucked out her eyelashes. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? What does it feel like to pull out an eyelash? This little girl pulled all of her eyelashes out. She was inconsolable around her agent. The mother went to the police, and because she didn't have any physical injuries at the time, they couldn't help her. We need to change how we look at these situations. We need to offer real help to mothers and children that are trying to escape abusive households. We need to have more social safety nets. We need to have better police work. We need to have social workers going to these types of cases. We need to have follow-up. We need to have protection for children in the event that the mother is too scared to leave. We need to be able to give them a safe place to go to. Because I can see why she didn't want to leave. I can see why she hesitated to go to that apartment. Because she knew how violent this guy was. She knew how he was. She knew what he was capable of because she lived with him. And when you live with these people, you get a whole different window into what they are. Women know that when they leave, they're risking dying. They know that. And that's why they hesitate. And then people want to go online and say, both of her parents failed her. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Eat your tongue. Never speak again. Do not ever say that this mother failed her child. She did everything she could. She went to the police. She talked to everyone she needed to. She got a secret apartment. She was trying to leave, and she hesitated because she knew what kind of hell he was going to bring down on her as soon as he found out she was leaving. And she just wanted a little more peace for her daughter. She wanted her to be able to have a birthday party in her own neighborhood with her own friends. Her hesitation to leave is not what got them killed. If she had just left, there's nothing to say that he wouldn't have found that apartment and killed them there. Because that's probably what he would have tried to do, and she knew it. So she was putting it off. Like we all put things off. But we don't all have to think about that level of consequence when we're putting things off. Burt Reynolds in All Dogs Go to Heaven, his lines where he's saying goodbye to Anne Marie, those were recorded after the murder. He had to re-record 70 times. He held her photo in his hand while he recorded those lines, telling her goodbye. And this shit still happens all the fucking time. What's it gonna take? What is it gonna take? It already took Judith Barsi. How many more little girls are we gonna sacrifice to insecure fucking men? How many more?